Okay, welcome to a new episode of Nate's MMA Corner. I'm Nate, and if you watch my show, you're in my corner. Today's episode is a pre-fight show for UFC 197, Jones versus Ovince St. Preux for the UFC Interim Light Heavyweight Championship of the World in the main event. And then the co-main event, we have the UFC Flyweight Championship of the World on the line with Demetrious Johnson and Henry Cejudo. So, yeah, it's a pre-fight show. Go down the main card, give my predictions, so let's get started. Yeah, the main event is John Bones Jones versus Ovince St. Preux. Ovince St. Preux, college football star, and you got a turned MMA fighter who fought in Strikeforce, has great fights against Glover Teixeira and Patrick Cummins, and then you got John Jones, who's one of the longest reigning champions in UFC history, trying to get back on track after being stripped of the belt and trying to win this interim belt and then eventually go on to win the belt from Daniel Cormier. So, yeah, it's going to be a good fight. And I have John Jones winning first round submission. I think that John Jones immediately shoots for takedowns fairly quick. I think there's a little pity-patter with striking on both sides. But then Jones will work in a takedown because he knows he can do it, and why not, and it'll avoid him getting unnecessary damage. It'll be a smart move, and he's vastly superior wrestling over Ovince St. Preux, MMA wrestling that is, that he'll be able to keep him down, and then I think he could work in a Kimura lock, Kimura, or possibly maybe a guillotine. Yeah, I can see a guillotine happening in top position. Yeah, John Jones, I think he mixes things up with striking just enough to get St. Preux guessing and then goes in for the takedown. And I am predicting late in the first round he submits Ovince St. Preux and makes his triumphant comeback and really sets it up for a fight with Daniel Cormier down the line. Yeah, and then in the co-main event we have a flyweight clash with for the flyweight title with Demetrious Johnson and Henry Cejudo, and this one I have Johnson winning by fourth round submission. Here's why: is because Henry Cejudo is a gold medalist in wrestling in the Olympics. Obviously, he's going to try to use his wrestling and take Demetrious Johnson down. Can he take Demetrious Johnson down? Yes, I think he can. I think he will. But I think the jiu-jitsu skills of Demetrious Johnson are highly underrated. And I think eventually he's going to submit Henry Cejudo from the bottom, or maybe work his way to a good top position and then get submission on the top. So I think Henry Cejudo is going to want to grapple with Demetrious Johnson more so than stand up. They could stand up. Henry Cejudo's boxing is not bad, but Demetrious Johnson's going to be running around so fast. He's going to be not staying in the pocket. He's going to be moving side to side. He's going to be hitting him with shots, and Henry Cejudo is going to get frustrated and turn to his wrestling, and then that's when it's going to open possibilities for Demetrious Johnson to get a late submission. I think that, yeah, neither one of them, Demetrious Johnson or Henry Cejudo, is not going to get finished quick, no matter who wins this fight. But I think since Demetrious Johnson has a far better jiu-jitsu skills, he will submit Henry Cejudo eventually, but it'll take some time. It's going to be some patience. It's going to take some time. The first 3 rounds going to be work for Demetrious Johnson, and then the 4th round, Henry Cejudo will be like, well, I'm getting takedowns and I'm grappling with him, and he's not submitting me, and he's going to get a little bit more comfortable, and then Demetrious Johnson then will submit him. So that's what I am predicting, is 4th round submission for Demetrious Johnson, and he gets his next title defense on this one. So it'll be a good fight though. And if Demetrious Johnson doesn't get the submission, then I think he'll do just enough in the stand-up where he wins a decision on the judges at least 3 of the 5 rounds. At least 48, 47 unanimous decision. So yeah, this is going to be a tough, close fight for Demetrious Johnson, but I think at the end of the day he will narrowly get it done. I think this will be probably his toughest test in quite a while. Yeah, it's going to be a good fight though. I'm actually looking forward to this quite a bit. Then in the lightweight division, also on the main card, we have Anthony Showtime Pettis versus Edson Barboza. Edson Barboza loves the flashy striking, so does Anthony Pettis. But I think Anthony Pettis is a slightly better striker, and both guys could be knocked out. However, I think Edson Barboza is more inclined to getting knocked out than Anthony Pettis. I think Anthony Pettis could go a 5-round war if he's in that situation, which he's not in that situation. It's just a 3-round fight. So I have Anthony Pettis getting 1st-round knockout. I say late in the 1st round. I think the striking defense Edson Barboza holds up for a little bit, but then gradually Anthony Pettis gets more and more aggressive, and then lands late in the 1st round, clean knockout. So Anthony Pettis wins. If Anthony Pettis does not get the knockout in the 1st round, then I got unanimous decision win for Anthony Pettis on strikes. I say this fight stays standing. However, actually, you know what? I take that back. If Anthony Pettis doesn't get the knockout, I say he gets submission 3rd round, because he loves to go for submissions at some point as well. So, but I'm more leaning towards Anthony Pettis gets a 1st-round knockout win over Edson Barboza than anything else. Then also in the main card, in the middleweight division, we have Robert Whittaker versus Rafael Natal. Rafael Natal, good fighter, great at jiu-jitsu. Then you have Robert Whittaker, who's well-rounded, heavy hands, can do a little bit of everything. And I got Robert Whittaker actually winning by 1st-round knockout on this one, because I think Robert Whittaker's chin is, in my opinion, fairly good. Rafael Natal's not so much. He can be knocked out. With that said, I think Robert Whittaker's striking is pretty good, and he has heavy hands, and it's going to land eventually. And I say, yeah, 1st-round knockout, Robert Whittaker victory. This will be a fun middleweight fight. I'm looking forward to this one. Then to kick off the main card, we have Yair Rodriguez versus Andre Touchy-Fili. Yeah, this is a great featherweight clash of 2 young stars to look forward to in the division of featherweight. 2 guys that a year and a half to 2 years from now could be fighting for the belt. More so, I would say more so Yair Rodriguez. Yair Rodriguez, you know, he trains with Izzy Martinez in wrestling, and he's only getting better and better. And then you got his striking is already good and is getting better. And so this guy, he can mix things up pretty well, and he's a top prospect to look out for. Yair Rodriguez, I got winning by unanimous decision here, because I think Andre Fili training at Team Alpha Male is well-rounded across the board on a lot of things, on, well, pretty much any big facet of MMA. However, he's, in my opinion, the not as good version of Yair Rodriguez. You got Yair Rodriguez, great at wrestling, great at striking, who's going to have takedown defense, who's going to have striking defense, who's going to have striking offense. And I think that striking offense will negate this fight and get him to win a points fight. And he's going to outland Andre Fili each round en route to unanimous decision victory. So there you have it. There is my predictions for UFC 197. And on a side note, the Conor McGregor news, I'm glad Conor didn't retire. And yeah, I mean, he's not retired. I just want to clarify, he said online he's not retired. And he will be back at some point. and hopefully sooner than later, because we all enjoy Conor in some shape or form, whether you're rooting for him or against him. But yeah, I thought I'd address Conor's McGregor situation. Yeah, he's going to be back hopefully soon, and can't wait to see him. Yeah, I'm glad that Conor versus Nate is no longer, at the time of this recording, the main event of UFC 200, because I wanted to see a different matchup. And if I do see Nate Diaz at UFC 200, I want to see him fight for the title, not in some super fight. So there you have it. There's my tidbits on Conor McGregor. I'm sure you all wanted to hear what I had to say about that. Big Nate Diaz fan, big Conor McGregor fan. I just did not want to see them do a rematch at UFC 200 in the main event of that. I think there's more exciting fights we could have at the main event of UFC 200. I think that's a great fight somewhere down the line, but not right now. And yeah, that wraps up my post-fight show for UFC, or pre-fight show for UFC 197. Stay tuned in the coming days for my post-fight show for UFC 197 to see if I'm right on my predictions. And until then, see ya.